Welcome to the Conquer Risk Podcast. My name is Manish, and with me I have the OG Jeff Goodnow. How are you doing, sir?
Awesome blossom, baby.
Awesome blossom. We can't always expect those from you, right? So awesome sauce
Peachy
and the rest of
keen.
this shit.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we want to talk about something that's been on our mind for a while, kind of a new way of doing business, we feel. We were doing this public relations thing for another firm, and they asked, how you're different from other asset managers. And one of the things that came to mind is transparency. And we feel that the new age of asset management and the new age of financial firms is going to be transparency. Because everything's on the internet, and there's no point in trying to hide behind one-page PDFs and brochures. You have to be transparent in today's environment. And we started the process a couple of years ago, and you and I sat down and listen, let's just be more transparent. Even if it doesn't benefit us, let's open up as much as we can. And sometimes that leaves room for issues, but the point is, let's be as transparent as we can. And so what we did this past year is we take it even further. We said, because we had fun doing it, right? And we got a lot of good feedback. And so we're let's take it even further. Let's see, compliance obviously in mind, how transparent we can be with everything we do and see what happens. And so we've done that, and I think...
Yeah, it's like a personal challenge. It's like a personal challenge. Like, what else can we reveal? What else can we release? What else can we show?
And it's been fun, and I think we have plans to do even more. And I tweeted this the other day where I want to be so transparent that I make asset management competitors feel very uncomfortable. That's the goal. And so what are we talking about? What are the three main points you want to hit when it comes to transparency?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the investment process. We're going to talk about some of the value adds and why that's a little bit different, and then a little bit of future talk, right? Nothing says transparency like telling you what we're about to do, in the marketplace. And I have to laugh when you said making other managers uncomfortable. We've got a lot of good partners out there, and a lot of them do things very differently, and that's okay. But I just laughed when we were having this conversation because what came to my mind was Colonel Sanders and his 11 herbs and spices. I mean, they're locked up like Fort Knox, right? And that's the way most managers approach the business. I mean, not just their portfolio process, but the entire business. Like, we've got this information, it's locked tight, and if you're really nice to us, we might give you a little breadcrumb. And we just said, here's a recipe, man.
Can I jump on that? Because I got an email the other day from a manager, and one of the bullet points was, because of NFTs and cryptos, and this other stuff, we feel that we are in a bubble. And that was it.
Saw that.
That's it. And so I just it boggles my mind. Just show them. So anyway, let's talk about some specifics here. So,
sure.
You had a really good example because we go through a lot of these due diligence processes with other firms, and they're skeptical about tactical managers because they never tell them anything, right? Absolutely. It's like a black box kind of thing. And so we were kind of like, oh no, sure, let us know. We'll show you the code and show you how it's done. And they were a little bit taken back, but what are your experiences in that realm, especially from your past roles as well?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I would completely agree. Their response was not unexpected in that, look, as a tactical manager, we understand you. It's almost like they were giving us the out, was the feeling that I had. Like, it's okay to tell us that you're not going to show us anything. And it really did. It threw them for a loop when we were like, oh, what do you want to see? We'll show you. We open up AIME Broker. We can show you the code. We can show you the systems that we use and so forth. And basically, we kind of got shut down. Like, no, that's okay. Because it might reveal that they're not comfortable enough with tactical to even understand what we might show them, which is kind of sad when you think about it, right? This is a company doing due diligence. They should want to know and want to ask those questions and really dive in. So yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot. Of course, I've been the one asking questions in most cases, right? In my experience, I'm asking for that black box info. I'm trying to understand how do you do what you do, and show me an example. So most managers, if you push them, will give you some insight, but I have never once had a manager at the thought of me asking a question, want to open up like we do and say, here, well, let's open up this stuff and let's take a look at it in real time.
I want to talk about where this comes from, okay? Because this is a little bit more of a personal story, but I was brought up in this industry, and I've said this on many podcasts and interviews, to be vague.
Yeah.
You know, when someone asks you what generated a buy signal, what are you thinking, you kind of come up with this PowerPoint type of explanation without giving anything away. And that's how I operated for years, because that's what I knew, it's what I was taught. And then it got to the point where it was actually harder to make up the bullshit than it was to just show them exactly what it was, right? And part of that was the new coding and the new way we did some of the code development. But it's just easier to say, hey, look, this is some of the code, this is how it combines, this is what generates a buy and a sell. And it was refreshing not to have to like jump through hoops and create a bullet point when you can just show them.
Well, this goes to this is a bit of an extreme example, but a phrase I've used many times. It's like if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. Right? And not that everybody's lying about it, but if you think about that, right, life becomes really simple if you say exactly what you mean and you give them the actual information that they want. And so, it is what it is. I know you make fun of me for all my sayings and my good notes.
No, this was actually a good one. Most of them are shit, but this is a good one. I give you credit for that. I'll give you credit for that. So the last point, and this was brought up in a call yesterday. Shout out to the call I had yesterday. He actually he printed, I don't know why he has a printer, he's younger than me, but he showed me in front of the camera the How I Invest Money PDF that we made, which we need to update. But the point is, Jeff and I sat down and said, let's just show everyone how we invest our money, where it is, what managers we use, how we allocate our own assets. And we need to update that, by the way. But the point is, he showed me this. He's like, this is awesome. Like, you guys are doing this. And I'm like, yeah, it's not... it's no skin off our back. We're just showing you how we invest, and you do with that information what you want. But the point is, it's you see the passion for it because, frankly, 85% of our assets, if not more, are in the strategies that we're offering. So just another point of, transparency that I think helps.
Okay. So, one other thing I want to say along this realm, and it must be lunchtime because I keep having these food references, but I always actually really enjoy going to a restaurant where you can see the cooks in the kitchen. And I think that, to me, is a very close, very akin to what we're trying to do. The level of trust that we can create with our investment management process by showing you what the hell it is we're actually doing, I think builds a lot of trust. And that makes for, instead of customers, makes fanatics. And we love that. So
cool. Yeah, no, I agree. And when we get to the future roadmap, we can talk. There's a couple exciting announcements that we're trying to roll out. And so, okay, let's talk about the second part here. So, sure. There's obviously investment process. We're transparent. We want to gain assets. We want to gain your trust as a financial advisors. But then there's a second part of that where, we do things that is not a direct link to revenue. We try to add value in places. That's it, just to add value, just to help out. And some of that has come back tenfold in a lot of conversations we're having. What are some examples that come to mind about the value add that's not tied to generating revenue?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind is we did a podcast some time ago about TAMP versus model marketplace. And I thought that was a great example because I not only get to point to it, but it's also I literally had a couple weeks ago an advisor with $100 million practice all by himself with a couple of staff members. And when he called us, he was wanting to leave this I'll say quasi proprietary spot, but he wasn't sure what questions to ask, right? In just a couple minutes of conversation, we realized he used the word landscape, and so I drew on that, and we were able to very quickly figure out that, our own TAMP wasn't necessarily a fit, but rather I spent the time educating him about TAMP versus model marketplace, what he should actually look for based on what he needed, and it was never a conversation about our Potomac stuff. In the end, he said, you have made me wiser than I was before we started the conversation, and I appreciate it because that's what I was trying to figure out. I don't know what I don't know, right? He's trying to figure out what to look for in a new home or a new solution. And now he felt like he was able to go do that. And that's awesome. Maybe we'll see some business out of it down the road. Maybe not. I don't really care. It's the fact that we did what we wanted to do, which is build that trust with an advisor, and it'll come back to you. Man, karma's a if you want to go the other direction. So,
well, I just thought of something that's recent. Like we literally had a call the other day with a head of an OSJ, and we booked a call for June to talk to his group of advisors. And the first half of the call, they want us to cover what we did to launch the podcast, the videos, the content, like the process we put in place. And when you do this, you never think that that's the value add, but frankly, it is. And if they do business with us, fine. If they don't, fine. We don't care either way. If we can be helpful and add value, I think it comes back. It comes back with referrals. It comes back with someone else lending a helping hand from time to time. And so, we've doubled down on that process of trying to help people.
Yeah. Another quick example is we made a marketing piece. I say marketing because the marketing team created it, but it's an educational piece called "Are You Aware of the Risks in the Portfolio?" And the whole reason we designed it was not to throw a Potomac label all over it. It doesn't talk about our strategies at all. It educates advisors and their clients about maximum drawdown in a very simple format. So we basically are providing that value add, this educational piece, to help create the foundational conversation for advisors. Because the hardest thing an advisor could do is having the conversation about risk, right? Because it's not very fun. We want to talk about returns, right? And get all excited about what we can do on the return side. The risk side is more important and it's harder to have. So by that creating that value add, that simple piece, advisors love it. And we share it with everybody. So sometimes people use it and you end up doing business with Potomac. Sometimes they don't. Again, we don't care. We're doing a value add. Karma will come back. It's all good.
Well, I was actually, Jen and I were talking about a blog that she wrote, and at the end of it, she had in her draft, like, check out Potomac's version of this, and this, and I crossed it out, and we got into a little, not a tiff, but we got into a little back and forth where she's like, don't you want to put this in here? I'm like, no. Like, you'll never see any of our research or any of our marketing pieces that say at the end that sell, that, check out our strategy or check how great we are. It's banned. It's like, listen, just say your piece and move on. I mean, you don't need to add that in there. So anyway, look, it's all over the website. It's all over, the podcast, the blog, everything we put out. Some of it is obviously product specific in terms of our research and what we're doing. And some of it is just value add that has nothing to do with anything we sell. And so let's dive into the third one. Third real point here is kind of business structure. Right, operations, the roadmaps, whatever you want to call it. What are your thoughts there? I know we've made some changes on how we want to communicate just what we're thinking.
Well, first and foremost, from a business standpoint, most people don't realize, because I don't think necessarily a lot of advisors do plan this far out, but we're typically looking between 6 months to 2 years out in front of us. Like, what can we do? We have phase ones, phase twos. These are the kinds of things that we have a lot of discussions about with our team, and trying to figure out what's the next thing that we could make simple, remove friction, and just make business easier to do. And that's really what drives us on making some of these decisions. So I think fire away on some of the things that we've got coming forward.
Well, I think it's important just to be open and not blindside people with decisions and give them rationale why you're doing certain things, right? We've been pretty crystal clear that the silos of Potomac are going to be our strategies on other marketplaces and platforms, and also our Union UMA TAMP. That's what we're doing going forward. So with that being said, we've had to have uncomfortable conversation with some advisors that maybe have a couple accounts straggling back that we want to get rid of. We've closed a lot of strategies, our own strategies that no longer fit into that mold, but we've been open about that and letting people know this is the plan and this is what we want to roll out.
Yeah, I hesitate just a little bit because it's not like we had a ton of them. We had a couple of other strategies. It's not like we had 25 of them and we're narrowing it down to 4. That's one of the things that I've always loved about Potomac is that we haven't been a churn and burn portfolio factory.
Right? Yeah, there's a couple strategies, a couple test strategies, and just a couple stragglers out there that we're taking time from our focus. And the point of it is, you have to focus on what you're adding and where your value is, and you got to kind of kill the rest, right?
Well, business 101 is go where the business is.
Yeah.
If you have something that's not garnering business,
is that a good noise?
Why are you wasting your time? Yeah, there you go.
Well, so
Probably.
And then there's two things also that I want to add that we can talk about. The two shows that I think are really relevant here. Number one is Build in Public, which the marketing team is doing, which essentially means when they go look at a new software or launch a new campaign, they're going to record it. And I think advisors can find value in what we're thinking from a marketing angle. But more importantly here, I think we instituted the leadership call, right, which is important. So we take myself, you, Jennifer, and Christopher, and we all talk about the things we accomplished in the quarter, the things we're looking forward to, and just have open, frank conversations that everyone can glean some sort of insight into what we're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's valuable because, again, our original premise of the Conquer Risk podcast was we're having conversations anyway. Why not record them and just be transparent?
Yeah, that's it. And
so here we are.
The feedback has been wonderful. We appreciate the feedback, the kind thoughts, and everyone loves it because they don't have to call and wonder. They don't have to call and ask a million questions because it's probably already been sent to them. And so on the roadmap, and I hate that word, but I need to find a better way to say that. But how are we going to push this envelope even further? Well, one of the things that I want to do personally from an investment side is release the holdings not only of our models, but also the underlying funds. In many cases, those underlying funds are our own affiliated funds. And I know there's compliance rules about posting it quarterly, and then you can talk about it. You can't just talk about it without it. And I get that. So we got to follow some compliance rules, but I'm going to do it monthly, and maybe even more if I can. The point is, we want to unveil everything as much as possible. And so on the investment side, this is where it's going to make some people feel real uncomfortable when everything is kind of hidden, whereas we're going to say, look, here are the model holdings, here are the underlying fund holdings on a monthly basis. Do with that information what you want. You want to go trade it by yourself, and I don't care. It doesn't matter to us. We're just going to release it and let you run with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a different outlook than most strategists have. But again, if you don't, the only way to be different is, in fact, to do something different. And that's pretty much what we've just said from the beginning we're going to do. This is who Potomac is. Love it or leave it. Subscribe or unsubscribe. We don't care either way because it's a win for us. That means more people who like us are engaged with us. And if you don't like it, well, that's okay. There are plenty of strategies out there to make your day.
So this also comes back to business efficiency and transparency, right? So put it this way: we get so many questions about what are you thinking on the market? How are you positioned? Yada yada yada. So rather than answer those one-off questions, you just release it all. And this is where I think the asset management industry is behind. They're still so guarded, right? No one can know what we're doing. What if they, figure out we're doing nothing? They're so guarded, and
that's the secret.
That's the secret sauce. And so this handles a lot of things. It allows us to be efficient. It allows us to scale. It allows us not to need 12 wholesalers who do nothing and say nothing. We can just put it all out there. And I think that helps our business. And I think part of our growth has really been attributed to the fact that we don't need that many boots on the ground because we're putting everything out there anyway. And so it's refreshing. And listen, this podcast is not just for you and I to rant at each other. Well, part of it is, but the rest of it is for, I think advisors should do this. When you charge for a financial plan, record you doing the financial plan, the ins and outs of it, and show everyone exactly the good and bad, the assumptions that make sense, the assumptions that may be a little iffy. I think it's good for advisors to embrace this because clients are going to require it in the future. Today they require it, right? Everything's out in the open. So if you can take anything from this, institute some form of transparency in your company. I think you'll greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough to get started, but once you do, it's very freeing. So on that note, recommendations, buddy. What do you got?
Yeah, so we're in the process of trying to move. I still haven't found a house, but I wanted to sell my car. I don't use it. I walk to work, and with the kids in the van and stuff like that. So I called the place I bought it from, CarMax and local dealership. One called me back and said he would check and get back to me. The other one never called me back. In the meantime, I went to Carvana. I entered my license plate, description of the car, a picture of the title, my license plate, a couple other things. It took me maybe 7 minutes tops to get everything uploaded into the system. They gave me a price. It's a great price. I said accept. They're picking the car up in 3 days. Phenomenal service, phenomenal user interface and experience. I can't say enough good things about Carvana, and I think car dealerships are in a lot of trouble.
That's interesting, because I referenced Carvana a long time ago, one of our podcasts, just about the technology, disruptors. And I will say, although it wasn't Carvana, mine was CarMax, our Range Rover, when we decided to get rid of it. It's like we tried on our own, sort of the old school way, and then having people come in. In the end, it was like, wait a minute, so we're trying to make an extra $1,000. How about we just drop it off at CarMax and it's done? It's like, all right, finished.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool. I've not tried Carvana, but I guess we'll have to do that here one of these days soon.
Cool.
So,
what do you got?
This is simple, 3-inch, it doesn't have to be the 3-inch stuff, but Gorilla Tape, the wide, tough Gorilla Tape. I've had a couple of circumstances recently where I had to put it to its test, and I
was the shitter loose?
No, but close. I will buy Gorilla Tape over duct tape every day of the week moving forward. I am an absolute fan, and I keep it. I have it in the truck, in the RV. I will keep it in the, you name it. I'm going to have Gorilla Tape with me at all times. So that's easy.
Cool. Well, listen, thanks for everyone who stopped by and listened to the episode. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, give us reviews, do what you got to do. We appreciate your time today. Obviously, we appreciate your partnership if you're a client of Potomac, and let us know anything on your mind.
All right. Thanks, guys. We're out.
Thank you.